Right, so let's talk about these new developments. I mean, I'm sure you've been following up on what has been happening on social media, and very many documents.
Yes.
One document came from NEC saying that indeed, there was no grade, and then of course the camp from the governors and many documents that have surfaced showing that indeed he was a bona fide student. The school has come out to say he was a bona fide student. What is your take about all these things that are happening? From your perspective?
From my perspective, I think even if there is a genuine case that needs to be investigated, but then politics has overshadowed all that. Because you look at it critically from where I sit, it's just not one government agency after the Mombasa governor. There are several agencies that are after him. It starts from KRA, it comes now to NEC, it comes to the DCI. So many, even the president and the deputy president himself attacking the Mombasa governor. And therefore, to shift through all that mud to actually find the truth is going to be a little bit tricky. This is even more interesting.
Would the system just go back to what NEC has to say as an institution?
You realize that NEC has given several explanations to Joho's credentials. First, it was a certificate with no grade. Then secondly, they say he sat for his KCSE in 1992. Then now they bring another one in 1993, actually confirming the governor's position. So it actually shows so much lack of competence on the state agency to some extent. Yes.
All right, let's talk about what would he do in regards to taking this matter to court if it gets there? What are his options right now?
Actually, I don't think it's such a big case, because if the school has already come out and said this is our bona fide students and these are the records, Father NEC goes again and verifies that, I don't see it ending up in court. Even if it was to end up in court, there are several things that indeed the prosecution will have to prove. First, as it is right now, we don't have a complainant who is complaining that indeed this guy forged, who is standing up to say that I forged this on behalf of the governor. No one is coming out to say that. It's just accusation and counter-accusation. So the case actually starts from the prosecution. First, who is your complainant, who is going to complain? And then secondly, have you verified the certificate that the governor is holding that is indeed a forgery? For you to do that, it means the certificate has to be taken for forensic audit to confirm that indeed it's a forgery. The NEC officers have to verify that indeed they did not issue that certificate. The school will also have to be involved that indeed this governor did not sit for this KCSE and he was never our student.
But the school has, like you mentioned, has already come out to say that he was a bona fide student.
Yes.
Does that hold enough water to make this go away?
Not really. It depends. It works well to a large extent for the governor. First, the school coming out and saying this is a bona fide student, he did start for his KCSE. You can't be a student and sit, but then the certificate that you have is different from actually what you are given. That is where the contention is. And it doesn't work well for the prosecution if the school is already on the governor's side saying that indeed what the governor is presenting is what the school issued to him as his next certificate.
So how much harder would the prosecution then have to work, and what kind of evidence will they have to bring to the table for this to go through?
For it to go
forgery?
Through, yes. There are several according to the penal code. First, they will have to prove that indeed there was forgery. For you to do that, you have to have a certificate that you're claiming is the forgery document. Actually, that is the first exhibit the prosecution have to produce before court.
So they have to have something on their end.
Yeah, they have to have something on their end. Actually, that physical certificate itself, not just allegation and what is flying in the media. They have to ask the governor to surrender his certificate that he claims is original. That physical certificate has to go through forensic audit and forensic verification to confirm that indeed it's either a forgery or it's a genuine one. Once it's a genuine one, that is the end of it. There's no way it's going to go through. Then secondly, if it is a forgery, how did the governor play into it? Did he commission someone to forge it? Was he part of it, or was he given?
So even that has to be proven?
Even that has to be proven. What is there's a story that probably he was given that certificate and it was the school mistake or even next mistake. He has what he was given by the system. So you have to prove that indeed the governor himself was involved in the forgery itself too.
The Director of Criminal Investigations in Mombasa has asked the governor to present himself. That's going to be happening tomorrow. What information will they be likely to be keen into extracting from him?
I don't know, even in fact, that even summons for the governor to appear before the DCI of Mombasa. I think it's also that part of the politics we are talking about. Because at this particular end, who has reported to the DCI? Who is complaining that indeed the governor has forged a document? There's no complainant. So on what basis is the governor going to record a statement?
All right.
Have you proven anything? The governor is only the sole custody of his certificate. So where the DCIO got the certificate from? I mean, who has complained? So they might do that as a PR to look like they're doing their work. The governor will go there. He has actually said that he's going to honor their summons tomorrow at 10:30. So he'll present himself and say, okay, fine, this is the certificate that I have, and the schools has verified that this is what I was given, and you can confirm from the state agencies.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the punishment for forgery. What is it in regards to the penal code here in the country?
In regards to the penal code for facial, that's an official document for, with regard to section 351 of the penal code, that you're supposed to be jailed for 7 years. So it's actually, we are looking at a big criminal offense. If indeed the governor is convicted, then he's going to serve 7 years in jail.
But then the governor there has to be evidence to pin down the governor. Like you mentioned, it could be anybody else.
Yeah.
If indeed it's a case of forgery,
Forgery,
it could be
yes.
anybody in that chain.
Yes. But then for the state or the prosecution to actually prove that indeed the governor did forge this certificate, then it's going to be a very epic task. Probably he might even be charged, it might be even reduced, not even forgery. If indeed the certificate is a forgery, they might revise the charge sheet and actually reduce it to using a forged document. That's a different offense altogether as opposed to forgery itself.
All right.
Yes.
What is the place of all these other institutions that are involved? Of course, you have the secondary school, then you have the University of Nairobi, and then you have Gretz University. What part will they play in this whole, saga?
Indeed, that is a good question, Betty. First, you remember that it is not the first time that the governor is facing issues of credibility of his certificates. There was actually a case that actually ended at the Court of Appeal with his degree.
Right.
First, you will assume that from professional point of view, before someone is admitted to any university, the university will have to do a background check of the credentials of the applicant, of the student. So if it went through, then it actually means this person's credentials are valid. Yeah, for actually the matter to go up to the High Court, up to the Court of Appeal, and still hold that indeed this person's degrees are valid. So in other words, the government is telling us that the state agencies are not competent enough if indeed this certificate is a fake. Because here is somebody who sat for KCSE, finished and went to university, finished and actually has a degree. So what were the mechanisms? All this in place?
Admitted,
yeah,
went through the whole
system. So in other words, if indeed it was forgery, then they're telling us that all these systems of education are not competent enough. They're not doing the due diligence that they're supposed to be doing.
Right.
And this is not just the first place. One of the requirements for somebody to vie for gubernatorial seat in Kenya, you must have a degree. That means that the NEC and the IBC must have vetted your documents before you present them and go for the elections. This is a sitting governor, meaning that by the time he was submitting his papers to the IBC and all other these strategies that are now springing up had the opportunity to look up to these documents and verify that indeed they were genuine.
All right.
And that happened, and he vied and he won. So
I'll go a bit political. And so the people or the forces, I'll call them that seem to be after the governor, will they put all these questions in regards to all these institutions like you mentioned? Because I mean, if indeed this is a forgery case, when they all go down together?
Actually, they need to go down together. All the state agency and all those people involved who cleared him to run for elections in the 2013 to begin with actually need to go home. Unless they are telling us it's a system that the governor controls that made him clear himself all the way. Because it gets more political when the president stands and tells an individual that I'm going to deal with you and I'm now in power. These are the repercussions. You actually read more politics into it than actually genuinity. If it's about forgery, we have a sitting MP in Nakuru who forged documents and right now is actually organizing himself to go back for re-election. No one is talking about that. This is a sitting member of parliament who embarrassed the whole country overseas and was deported back. No one is talking about that.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jesse Oduor, for your insights on this. And we'll be waiting to hear what the governor has to say in a few minutes at 12 p.m. Thank you so much, Jesse Oduor. He is a lawyer talking to us about this forgery allegations and the impact that these allegations would have. All right.